Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. My name is David, and I'm here to talk once more about science fiction. If you haven't caught on, if you are a a regular viewer of this channel, you might notice a trend here to where I'm very much in a sci-fi mood. If you are new here, welcome. I'm glad you could join me because today I'm going to have the 5 science fiction series that I need to start. So these are ones that I have not read anything out of, at least not in the official series, that I want to get to. These are the next 5 in my mental order, so to speak. And I'm not going to be covering them in the order I would intend to read them, although I certainly could have. I don't even have books in 3 of these series, and the 2 that I do have, I only have the first book in those series. Now, if you missed it, just over the weekend, I had my ideal bookshelf number 4 video went up, where I covered 10 sci-fi series that I've started, that I've enjoyed, that would be series that I want to purchase everything of for my bookshelf. And a lot of those I haven't finished, such as Hyperion by Dan Simmons, and many, many more. So if you want to find out what other 9 series, I will have that linked down below so you can go check that out. But today, we are going to talk about the 10 series that I need to read, that I need to start. The 5 series that I need to start in sci-fi that I haven't touched. There are many great names that aren't going to get mentioned, such as the Voxer saga by Lois McMaster Bujold. Many others, Honorverse by David Weber, I think it is, and many, many more. There's too many to name. I tried making a video where I talked about all of the major ones and some minor ones I wanted to get to, and it just became a long, rambly list of name after name after name without anything meaningful beyond that for most of it. So I ended up cutting that video and deciding, it would be a much better product if I just limited myself in what I'm talking about, so I can talk a little more at length. So first, arguably, it's part of a series that is in that previous ideal bookshelf. I didn't know it at the time, so I'm going to keep it here where I had planned on it, and that is the Robot series by Isaac Asimov. So apparently this is part of the Foundation universe. It's like the future series where you've got Foundation and the Robot series kind of merged together. And that's okay. I'm okay with them being separate right now because I've read iRobot, which is basically book 0.1. If you go by the Goodreads page for the Robot series, that's how it's numbered. It says there are 4 primary works and 17 total works. So there's a whole bunch of ancillary books in there. And if you're looking through it, so it's got books 0.1 through 0.6 before it gets to book 1 of the Caves of Steel. And the one I'm worried about are the primary works, and then I'll go back and hit the other ones later. So it says on Goodreads that this series of short stories and novels featuring positronic robots are set in the first age of positronic robots and space exploration. The unique feature of Asimov's robots are the 3 laws of robotics, hardwired in a robot's positronic brain, which all robots in his fiction must obey, and which ensure the robot does not turn against its creators. So I knew that from having read iRobot, that it had the laws of robotics. I knew it as well from watching the iRobot movie. So let's see what Caves of Steel has to say. And so this is just the first book, and I'm going to kind of read the synopsis of the first book of all 5 of the first books of the series, so that there's a little bit more of a taste of what it is I'm talking about, rather than just listing a whole bunch of names which may or may not mean anything to you. So it says, a millennium into the future, 2 advancements have altered the course of human history. the colonization of the galaxy, and the creation of the positronic brain. Isaac Asimov's robot novels chronicle the unlikely partnership between New York City detective and a humanoid robot who must learn to work together. The Caves of Steel. Like most people left behind on an overpopulated Earth, New York City police detective Elijah Bailey had little love for either the arrogant spacers or their robotic companions. But when a prominent spacer is murdered under mysterious circumstances, Bailey is ordered to the outer worlds to help track down the killer. The relationship between Lige and his spacer superiors, who distrusted all Earthmen, was strained from the start. Then he learned that they had assigned him a partner, R. Daniel Oliva. Worst of all was that the R stood for robot, and his positronic partner was made in the image and likeness of the murder victim. So there you are. That sounds really interesting, actually. So I'm excited to read The Caves of Steel. It's on my short list for if I get time to mood read or decide to just scrap crap and mood read in September or October, which is more likely. It's on my short list of ones I want to start mood reading. The first book in all 5 of these series are on that short list. So there we go. Robot series, Isaac Asimov. Next, we have the other one that I actually have a book that I can hold up for. Old Man's War series. This one has 6 primary works, and according to Goodreads, it has 30 total works. So there's a lot of short stories, novellas, what have you, that go in here. But unlike the Robot series, this one starts the listing with Old Man's War. It's got a 1.5 between, but this is the first and foremost. So Goodreads tells me quite a bit here. New York Times bestselling author John Scalzi takes you on an epic romp of galactic conquest and exploration in the Old Man War series. Humanity has reached the stars but have been engaged in wars with alien races for decades over habitable planets. The Colonial Defense Force fights for Earth. To join the CDF, a recruit must have reached retirement age. They don't want young people. They want people who carry the knowledge and skills of decades of living. Soldiers are taken off Earth and never allowed to return. They'll serve time at the front, and if they survive, they'll be given a generous homestead on one of Earth's hard-won colony planets. Old Man's War, The Last Colony, and Zoe's Tale were each nominated for the Hugo Award for Best Novel in their respective years. So that's just more. But this is interesting. Old Man's War was ranked number 1 on the Tor.com reader poll of the best science fiction and fantasy novels of 2000 to 2010. It is listed in the NPR.com reader poll of the top 100 science fiction and fantasy books series. So that's pretty high praise here. So what does this book actually tell us on the back? John Perry did 2 things on his 75th birthday. First, he visited his wife's grave. Then, he joined the army. The good news is that humanity finally made it to the stars. The bad news is that out there, planets fit to live on are scarce, and alien races willing to fight us for them are common. So we fight. Far from Earth, the war has been going on for decades. Brutal, bloody, unyielding. Earth itself is a backwater. The bulk of our resources is in the hands of the Colonial Defense Forces, and everyone knows that when you reach retirement age, you can join up. The CDF doesn't want young people. They want people who carry the knowledge and skills of decades of living. You'll be taken off Earth, never to return. You'll serve 2 years in combat, and if you survive, you'll be given a homestead of your own on one of our hard-won planets. John Perry is taking that deal. He thinks he knows what to expect, but the actual fight, light years from home, is far, far harder than he can imagine, and what he will become is far stranger. This is probably in the number 1 slot of the 5 series. Not just because it was number 1 on Tor.com's reader poll, although that does give some weight to it. I've read one Scalzi. I'm going to be reading another one for sure in September. I've read Red Shirts, which Jeremy Fee just reviewed. So check that out. I'll have that link down below. It's a great review and discussion of Red Shirts, but he does have some very minor spoilers in there, and he lets you know ahead of time that he's going to give kind of a spoiler, but it's not much of a spoiler. And Red Shirts was good. I enjoyed it. I have a feeling this is going to be nothing like Red Shirts. So next we have, oh, yeah, I don't have it. The Culture series by Iain M. Banks. So this says it's 11 books or 19 total works, so some ancillary content in there. And Goodreads tells me that the Culture series or Culture cycle refers to a series of novels and short fiction written by Scottish author Iain Banks. The stories center around the Culture, a post-scarcity, semi-anarchist utopia consisting of various humanoid races and managed by very advanced artificial intelligences. They do not need to be read in order, and while there are some interconnections, they are minor. So book 1 is called Consider Phelbus. 471 pages, and here is the synopsis that Goodreads gives me when I click onto the title. The war raged across the galaxy. Billions had died. Billions more were doomed. Moons, planets, the very stars themselves faced destruction, cold-blooded, brutal, and worse, random. The Idarians fought for their faith, the Culture for the moral right to exist. Principles were at stake. There could be no surrender. Within the cosmic conflict and individual crusade, deep within a fabled labyrinth on a barren world, a planet of the dead prescribed to mortals lay a fugitive mind. Both the Culture and the Idrians sought it. It was the fate of Horza, the Changer, and his motley crew of unpredictable mercenaries, human and machine, actually to find it, and with it, their own destruction. I don't know about you, but that was actually really good. It has me even more interested in picking up Consider Phelbus sooner rather than later. I hear nothing but good things about the Culture series, and that's why it made this list. So, number 4, we have the Rama series by Arthur C. Clarke. Arthur C. Clarke, you probably know better for his 2001 A Space Odyssey series, and while that one would make the list of ones I do need to read, the Rama series I've heard is even better. And that's why that one makes the cut, because I need to read some Arthur C. Clarke. He's one of those staple authors in the genre. And I'm excited for it. So it says each book in the series is a whole story with a beginning and an ending. However, the plot of each book relies heavily on the prior books in the series. There are 4 primary works and 10 total works. The first book in that series is called Rendezvous with Rama. And so let's see what it tells us. At first, only a few things are known about the celestial object that astronomers dub Rama. It is huge, weighing more than 10 trillion tons, and is hurtling through the solar system at inconceivable speed. Then a space probe confirms the unthinkable. Rama is no natural object. It is, incredibly, an interstellar spacecraft. Space explorers and planet-bound scientists alike prepare for mankind's first encounter with alien intelligence. It will kindle their wildest dreams and fan their darkest fears, for no one knows who the Ramans are, or why they have come. And now the moment of rendezvous awaits, just behind a Raman airlock door. So this is a shorter one, 243 pages for that first book. So that'd be a nice quick one to be able to get through, and that is the Rama series by Arthur C. Clarke. And now last, but certainly far from least, this is one that I've wanted to read for ever since I've heard about it. Because the first book, at least, was described as being a book for fans of Firefly, the series. And Firefly, as a TV show, is definitely one of my top TV series of all time. So I knew long ago, I think around the time when it came out, 2014, 2015, probably somewhere even back then, that I wanted to read this book, this series, and I still have failed miserably at doing that. I haven't purchased it, much less checked it out from a library to read it. And that's going to change soon. hopefully I can get to at least the first book in all 5 of these before the end of the year, or get through an entire series out of the 5 of these before the end of the year. Either one of those I think would be considered a success. This one has 4 primary works and 6 total works, the first being The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. This is the Wayfarers series by Becky Chambers. And while I suspect that most of you have probably read this and are going to tell me just how fantastic this book is, let's hear what it would tell us on Goodreads. Follow a motley crew on an exciting journey through space and one adventurous young explorer who discovers the meaning of family in the far reaches of the universe in this light-hearted debut space opera from a rising sci-fi star. No longer rising. Rosemary Harper doesn't expect much when she joins the crew of the aging Wayfarer. While the patched-up ship has seen better days, it offers her a bed, a chance to explore the far-off corners of the galaxy, and most importantly, some distance from her past. An introspective young woman who learned early to keep to herself, she's never met anyone remotely like the ship's diverse crew, including Syssix, the exotic reptilian pilot, chatty engineers Kizzy and Jenks, who keep the ship running, and Ashby, their noble captain. Life aboard the Wayfarer is chaotic and crazy, exactly what Rosemary wants. It is also about to get extremely dangerous when the crew is offered a job of a lifetime. Tunneling wormholes through space to a distant planet is definitely lucrative, and will keep them comfortable for years. But risking your life wasn't part of the plan. In the far reaches of the deep space, the tiny Wayfarer crew will confront a host of unexpected mishaps and thrilling adventures that force them to depend on each other. To survive, Rosemary's got to learn how to rely on this assortment of oddballs, an experience that teaches her about love and trust, and that having a family isn't necessarily the worst thing in the universe. So there you go, friends. We have the Robot series. We have the Old Man's War series. We have the Culture series. We have the Rama series and the Wayfarers. 4 classic series, 1 new, more modern classic series in science fiction that are high on my list of ones that I need to read soon and at least get a start into. And now before I go, I just wanted to mention what really derailed the last video that I attempted to make were these 2 lovely books that I picked up when I was on my vacation down in Branson. The reason for that is they have new stories and series. So it might mention on the front, it's a new Ender's Game, Honor Harrington Universe and Dune Stories. So you'd think, okay, 3, that's fine. Then you look on the back, okay, so David Weber, Honor Harrington Saga, Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson Dune, Elizabeth Moon Vada's War, Orson Scott Card Ender's Game, Jack Campbell The Lost Fleet. Okay, so that adds a couple more. But then you start looking inside at the table of contents. And so, I don't know if I can get it to where you can kind of see it here or not. So they have titles here, and not all of them have it, but like the 4th one on this list is Legion of the Damned, The Good Shepherd by William C. Dietz. I did some looking. Legion of the Damned is a series in Sci-Fi. 2 spots later, Miles Vorkosigan, The Borders of Infinity by Lois McMaster Bujold. Next, Vada's War, All in a Day's Work by Elizabeth Moon. Then we have Lightship Chronicles, The Last Days of Training by Dave Barra. And so I started looking through here, and I've got like 14, 15 series in each of these, and most of them don't cross over. So it's not like I've got the same ones in here as I have in here. And so it's potentially going to add 20 to 30 new series onto my list as I'm reading these and get a sample and say, hey, this was really good. I want to read more, and realize, oh, crap. Okay, well, this one's got 23 books in that series. Now I'm committed. So I guess if you want to find samples of sci-fi series, these books are great. And I kind of do. But if you want just things that you can read and be done with and move on, these are probably not great because they're going to hook you on series. I mean, granted, not all of these are series in there. You know, it's got The Iron Star by Robert Silverberg. And that's a standalone story, I think. But I am excited to get some sampling of some of those major and minor series that are out there. So, thank you for watching, friends. Let me know down below what some of your sci-fi series are that you want to get to, or alternatively, what sci-fi series I should put on my list. Be kind. Give me good ones. My reading in sci-fi is far lesser than my reading in the past in fantasy series. So I've got a lot that I haven't gone to yet that I know I need to. So help me prioritize filling those gaps. Thank you for watching.